shoulder pad. So it's gonna be for my Thousand Sun / Emperor's Children. And then I got some weapons here. I thought this was a storm cannon, but apparently it's a cyclonic melta lance. And then I got the 2 different close combat weapons. So, and then I got the little missiles. So that's what we're gonna be working on today. Let me know what you guys are working on, if you are working on anything. I will get the music started in a sec, but before I do, I need to talk about something. And for those of you that followed me on Instagram today, you might be aware of what I'm going to be talking about, but there's been a little bit of, I guess, drama in the in my circles, and I just want to address some accusations that were made against me, and just some like false narratives that are spreading. So for those of you that don't know, on Monday I recorded an episode of Competitive Corner, and during that episode, about 50 minutes in, I made a statement regarding an incident at Nova 2019 with James Kelling, and I told you guys my truth. I told you guys, well, first of all, actually, I didn't even want to tell that story, and that's something that I've kept to myself for almost over 2 years, that I've never told anyone. I've maybe told 1 or 2 people close to me, but I've never made it public. I never made that story public because it didn't seem like it was like a I just don't like starting internet drama, to be honest. You know, obviously I joke around and I'm sarcastic sometimes, but like when it comes to actually like internet drama or like fights and stuff, that's not something I like to do. And for the most part, it's been 2 years. I thought this issue was resolved. Everyone had moved on with their life. And then, as I explained in the video, what happened was, and I'm going to show you guys all of the receipts. So this is the important thing, and I want you guys to understand that why I'm frustrated with this situation is because I feel like things are being said about me, but like no one's providing any sort of evidence or any sort of proof except me. And all of the proof proves my side of the story, and all of the evidence against me is just hearsay and speculation and all sorts of things. So I'm going to go through kind of what happened, and I won't go through the whole story on Monday. If you guys want to know what happened exactly, basically there was me and James played a game. He scored his secondaries incorrectly, and then after the game, after I discovered that he had scored his secondaries incorrectly, I talked to the TO Phil. I talked to the TO Phil, and I said, hey, my opponent like didn't do these scores correctly, and what should I do? And he said, well, if you get your opponent, and if it's true, then you can switch the scores so that you actually end up winning the game. So your opponent took illegal secondaries, which is not my fault, it's his fault. And that's what I did. I messaged James, and on Monday's show, and if you go, I've pinned the episode up on my YouTube, you can actually see the video, including screenshots of messages I sent to James that night at 6 o'clock saying, hey man, this was a mistake that you made. I talked to Phil. You clearly can't do this. I should have won that game. You shouldn't have won that game. Now, my whole point, and the other thing I said was, stop lying about what happened and take ownership of the fact that this happened. Like, every story, every time this is brought up, I'm made into be the bad guy because I found out that he took the illegal secondaries, and somehow that's my fault. And that's a story I hadn't told for 2 years. But what happened was, and I'm going to show you guys all of my screenshots here because I want to make sure everyone has proper context for what I'm talking about. So on, no, this is not the right one. So on, is this the right one? Nope, next one. Is that the right one? Let me see here. So on, let me see. Yeah, I'm not going to swear today because I don't want to get demonetized again. Let me just see here, guys. I'm just going to pull it up. So basically what happened was last week, and I explained this exactly in that original post. I explained why I even started talking about it. It's because in the 40K Facebook group that we're part of, there was a basically there was a topic around the new Games Workshop missions, and I pointed out, and I'm going to show you guys right here. I pointed out that there was a rule in there. Here we go. One sec, guys. All right, so here we go, guys. So here's what it looks like. So I pointed out on that, in that chat, this is exactly what I said. I said to Mike Brandt, and I said, the Jim Vassell clause after the shit show I caused at Nova, last Nova, sorry, Mike, in jest, because I thought it was funny. And he actually put a GIF here, like laughing basically. And that's all I said. I didn't call out anyone. I didn't bring up anything else about the incident. I just said, because Mike knew what I was talking about and it was directed at Mike Brandt. And so I brought up, that issue. With I made a joke to Mike thinking that he would get what I was talking about because he was obviously involved, and I left it at that. But then what happened was I had the teammates of where is it here? The teammates of James come in and say some things in the chat, reply to me, and I'm going to show you guys what that looks like. So just so, again, I want to show you guys exactly what was said. So the first message that was said was this. So David Penn, sorry, no, that's not the right one. I'll show you the next one. So the first thing was said by Scott. He said, is this when you complain to the TOs? This is what Scott said. Between days of Nova to have a submitted score from the previous round changed without talking to your opponent beforehand. So he accused me right there of basically behind the back of James going to the TOs and trying to get the score changed. And I very clearly showed on Monday that I literally messaged James and I said, hey man, your score is incorrect. And I showed you guys that on Monday. So this was already a lie and basically trying to drag me through the mud. Mike Brandt, who's the GW head of events, comes to my defense and says he and his opponent, to be fair, both talked with me about it together and separately to avoid any pressure to give a half answer. So what that means is we each told Mike what happened, and Mike made a determination that James was in the wrong and I was in the right, and then they changed the scores. And then I replied to Scott. I said, first of all, I immediately messaged my opponent right after the game, which I did. I showed you guys screenshots on Monday of that message. It was his fuck up and mistake, which was also true, not mine. He was super aware of it the whole time. So my point with the super aware was, as soon as the fuck up happened and I messaged him, he knew. Now, there's people claiming that James didn't know until the next morning and I was trying to ambush him. And I'm going to prove you guys that's wrong because it's literally admitted to in the next segment of this thing. He says, James replies to me, he says, that's some creative remembrance you have there. So he's disputing my account of events, which is that I didn't tell him, or he wasn't aware of it that night, which is totally false. And I'm going to prove it in a second here. And then his other buddy, Dan, and again, I don't know these guys. I've never met any of these guys. I have no ill will towards them. Says, it's nice to have this in writing. It's something you think people will just understand. Glad you spent the whole night ruminating over your fuck up to get it overturned by the event organizer over his own judges. So he's now saying that it's my fuck up. He's saying that he thinks I spent the whole night plotting to get the scores fucked up. Over, like, ruminating over it. No, like, it wasn't my fuck up. That was James's fuck up. That was not my mistake. It was James's mistake. And I said, it is what it is, because Mike Brandt was basically saying, stop fighting, stop having this like battle. And I said, okay, I'm going to walk away. And he accused me of being a win at all cost player. All right. Next, I'm going to play some audio today. So now why am I having a second video about this? You guys are probably asking. Well, I went to open my Spotify today and I subscribe to a number of 40K podcasts. And what do you know? That I would open my 40K podcast and this is what I would see. So I want you guys to see this outrageous thing that I saw today. I'm going to share it with you guys. Yeah, I'm not even a good player. So those are those two screens. Okay. Now I'm going to show you guys one more thing. Is that it? No. Come on, guys. Why am I so bad at tech? So then today, this is what I open up to see, and I want you guys to take a look at this. Spotify. I open Spotify and I see this Flying Monkeys podcast by Brian Hunter. And Brian, I've been on Brian's podcast before. I have no ill will towards him, so I'm not sure why he would do this. He titles his episode Jim Vessel's Heel Turn. So I was like, that's weird. Why is he talking about me? I have no ill will towards him. So then I play the podcast and I want you guys to listen to me, and I'm going to talk to you guys through what was said. So I'm going to shut up for a sec and I'm going to play the podcast. So hopefully you guys can hear this.
Was involved somewhat, and the reason that I want to talk about it is it was brought up and brought public. I'm not sure the reasons why. It kind of seems weird.
Okay, so first of all, this is the first frustrating part. Brian went as far as to put my name in his podcast and also bring this up as a subject on a show, but he didn't even bother to watch the video, because if he had, he would know exactly why I brought it up. He thinks that I just brought it up out of the blue and you guys are going to listen. Continue.
Come out of nowhere and be there. But Jim Bezel, for those who don't know, he was on the show a couple weeks ago. You know, we talked about influencers and I did appreciate some of his thoughts, but for whatever reason,
he keeps saying for whatever reason,
Jim has decided that in his podcast he was gonna come out and say some things about James Kelling. And for those who don't know, I do need to stipulate, I think James Kelling's a friend of mine. James Kelling's a friend of Ben's. Good dude. And Jim's decided he's going to drag him to the mud a little bit.
Okay, so first thing, I'm now all of a sudden I'm being characterized as the bad guy. So Brian's interpretation at this point is that me, for no reason particularly, doesn't even know why, I come out of the blue and I just want to drag James's name through the mud. That is not what happened. As I showed you guys, I made a comment and his whole team, including James, accused me of lying and started piling on in that chat, accusing me of being win at all costs, accusing me of mischaracterizing what happened. So Brian, dude, I have nothing wrong with you, but you got to get your facts straight, because the way that you've characterized these events is completely false. And I just showed you guys the receipts.
And so it's a frustrating situation, and I'm gonna turn it over to Ben from there. That's kind of my hot take up front. But
now we have Ben Sherwin, who I've played once at Nova, that same Nova, at the Invitational, who is one of James's teammates. So now we have two people on this podcast, neither of which were actually involved in the situation, neither of which are James. Let's hear what he has to say.
And you want to take over?
Yeah, well, real quick. I've only had a positive game with James, so that's my take on it too.
Yeah,
great.
James Kelling's a good dude.
Yeah.
So, period.
I've had lots of people have positive games against me. That doesn't mean that James didn't fuck up.
Well, the first thing I'm going to start off is I've played Jim Bessel, and I can tell you that, and he's going to hate me for saying this, but you fell on a lucky stick. You had a good list that worked in the meta, and you did well with it. But the type of player that I kind of see you as is somebody who will withhold information so that you can get a one-up. I'll give you an example in our game, which is true. I should have known this rule because, you know.
Okay, so first of all, Ben says I'm gonna hate him for what he said. No, I don't hate him. I had a really good list, and I played it into I played it to the best, and I don't hate him for that. So that's totally fine for him to say that. I have nothing wrong with that. Now he's played one game against me, and he's accusing me of the kind of player that would withhold information for no particular reason. So let's see what he has to say.
Why shouldn't I have all the rules for everyone else's army memorized? But
so apparently it's up to me to tell him every rule of my army.
Which fights first and switches with me, right? I asked about, you know, what abilities they had, and then he had no CP to interrupt, so I went and fought somewhere else, and then he fought and killed my my Autark, which could have killed his contorted epitome. And I kind of felt like he was like purposely not telling me about it, which is fine, you know, it's a high level game.
Okay, so Ben literally says he asked me about the abilities, which I don't recall, and I'm not sure like what he asked, but at the start of the game I go through my entire list with everyone, and it's not up to me like if he had asked me at that combat phase, hey, can you fight with like anything? Is there any way you can fight or anything like that? I would have answered truthfully. I always do. But somehow I'm supposed to remind him in the combat phase the order of which he's supposed to fight. That's on me in a high-level competitive game. And then he even goes on to say that that's fine. So let's continue.
But at the same time, I never do that to my opponent. You know what I'm saying? I'll be like, okay, well, when you're done selecting, I'm going to pick my contorted epitome or whatever because she fights first. You know what I'm saying? I never want to win with a gotcha. So that's my first impression of Jim.
He thinks I gotcha'd him because I didn't tell him exactly how to play the game.
Otherwise, he was just going to get demolished, and he CP'd that, and that
Sure.
was his strategy, which also to me flabbergasted me.
Well, that's your
there's
choice.
my
I can play the game how I
background
want.
with Jim. And then I'm going to give you the background on what happened at Nova. He goes out and calls James a liar afterwards, and on his podcast, he recently said that. Let me tell you what happened.
3 years post event too, right?
Again, Ben is saying that I'm calling James a liar, and Brian, who's hosting the podcast, is agreeing with him, but has no context of actually what happened. He literally was not he was not like there, right? So like what is he basing that on, right? So let's continue. Sorry guys, this is important.
Let me tell you what happened from my perspective. I'm at dinner.
From
I get a
his
text from
perspective.
James that says, hey, this guy says that, and he says Jim.
Did you guys catch that? He said, I'm at dinner. I'm at dinner. So this was the night of, that was the night of. So dinner, they were at dinner on 6 o'clock. And that's probably when I messaged James. And James at dinner says this.
It says that, you know, we scored wrong and that we need to change it. What should I do?
Perfect. So James and Ben both have admitted that at dinner the night before, I messaged James to tell him that he scored wrong. So this whole narrative that I tried to secretly behind their backs get the scores changed is completely a lie, and they just admitted it on the episode. So let's continue.
And I told him, Mike, well, tell Mike to grab the score sheets because we all had to turn in paper score sheets and go over it. That's all you got to do because he picked a secondary that doesn't stack. Now that is James's fault. 100%.
That is James's fault, 100%, and he admits it.
But to go and when I look online, this dude is all over this fucking shit talking and tactics, talking about how he knew something was weird and like he should have beaten James because somebody in shit talking tactics posted a picture of their score from Nova, making fun of him already in shit talking tactics. So he's losing his mind already. So to me,
I was not losing my mind. Literally, someone in the Nova in that chat tagged me and said Jim lost his game. And then about 45 minutes later, I was like, hey, stand by. I don't know if I actually lost because of this. And then it turns out that I didn't win. I was not losing my mind. If you want to, now, if Ben wants to produce those messages where I was losing my mind in the chat, I welcome him to do so. I welcome him to show that I was losing my mind. But I literally was just like, no, I didn't actually lose. Stand by because James didn't score correctly.
You look like a wound up baby child man making excuses as
so
to why
personal
you lost.
attacks.
And even if the score is wrong, to me, once it's submitted, it's final.
Oh, okay. So Ben's position is if I can get away with something, and look, I'm not going to say that James did it on purpose, but Ben's position, and I want you guys to understand this, Ben's position is if I can get the score submitted and you don't catch that I didn't score correctly, then too bad, so sad. I deserve to win the game. And even if I discover before the next round that there's a way to fix it, that we can amend the fact that I played illegally, Ben's position is if I can get the score in, that's basically home free. I'm home free. What kind of fucking position is that? That's an awful position to have. That shows someone that like literally doesn't care at all about like being honest there. So let's continue.
You know what I mean? If you guys made a mistake, you should have caught that in scoring.
Oh, okay,
End of
so it's up to
story.
me to catch his scoring
Because,
mistakes. It's my
James
fault
made
again.
an honest mistake and took something that didn't stack. And for those of you who don't know,
He even
Vessel
admits
beat Nick
James made the
Nadavanti,
mistake.
not because he's a better player,
That's never been in dispute.
but because he willingly did not tell him, like, hey, those secondaries don't stack. And then at the
Oh,
end
okay.
of the game,
Hold on.
said, you won't get in.
Let's hear that again. Let's hear that again. This is actually the part that bothers me. Let's hear that again.
Didn't stack. And for those of you who don't know, Vessel beat Nick Nadavanti not because he's a better player,
Okay.
but because
Listen
he
to this.
willingly did not tell him, like, hey, those secondaries don't stack.
Okay.
And then at the end,
So he just accused me of willingly not telling Nick that his secondaries didn't stack in a game we played at the Canadian Tabletop Championships in 2009. And I messaged Nick today because I want you guys to understand that this is also a lie. And I said, and this is literally our chat from today. So I'm going to show you guys. So this is my chat with Nick today. Where is it? Come on, stupid buggy. Okay, this is my chat with Nick today, and I want you guys to see this. And this is the message that I sent to Nick. I said, "Hey Nick." This is literally what I said. "Hey Nick, did you really tell people I purposely didn't tell the secondary stack in that game we played in Ottawa? Like I did it to you on purpose?" And he's like, "No. This is getting blown out of proportion. One dude asked me a question about the game, which I answered, and then said it was my fault for not reading." And I said, "I know, man. I literally have people saying I did it to you on purpose." He's like, "I hate the internet. I'm sorry." So Nick literally apologizes that like this shit show is even happening. So again, now Ben is making another lie. So this is the second lie that he's been caught in. Okay, let's continue.
The game said, you won't get any points there because those don't stack. That's the kind of player Jim Vessel.
So he's accusing me of being the kind of player that would. So this is Ben's position. He thinks in both games that I lied to my opponents, didn't tell them about the secondaries not stacking, and then at the end of the game tried to gotcha them. So first of all, that's a lie. But second of all, it's even if that was the case, even if I knew that they didn't stack, which I didn't, it's ultimately still that player's fault for choosing those secondaries. It's not onto me. Now, I would never do that, and I help my opponents ask me what secondaries to take. I help them. I walk them through it. I tell them, hey, you can get this. You can get 3 points on this, blah, 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 blah. I've never done anything like that. And so for him to accuse me of purposely doing it, it's a lie, and it's complete slander.
Integrity. Get fucked, bro. Like, seriously.
Now he tells me to get fucked.
You are slime compared to James.
So he says I'm
James
slime.
Would never withhold information like that. Like that secondary doesn't stack. So
well, he
mean,
might not
you
withhold
can come out and
information,
call him
Ben, but what he would do is try to score an illegal game and then try to take the win. So maybe he won't withhold information, but he'll do something that, in my eyes, is just as slimy.
Liar and a cheater all he want, but the one who is the piece of shit here is you, bro.
I didn't, and he calls me a piece of shit.
Okay? I don't go out there and tell people that take secondaries that don't stack. That's like taking two.
So again, he's making this accusation that I have been going out telling these. James is apparently number 4 in the ITC, as you're going to hear. Nick Nadavanti, one of the best players in the world. Apparently, I'm a corrupt influence on them, and I'm able to tell them that their secondaries that don't stack and convince these top level players to illegally score their games. Like does that make any sense to you guys, that I would somehow have this ability to like trick Nick Nadavanti and James Kelling, who are apparently excellent players, and I'm just a piece of shit on a log, that to take secondaries? Like I have some power. Guess what? You don't choose your opponent's secondaries. Your opponent does. So that's, again, just, it's completely nonsensical.
Secondaries from the same category at the current missions. I'm going to tell them they don't work together. You would let them take it and then tell them they don't get.
That's a lie.
For it. Yeah, that means you're not good at 40K, bro.
That's a lie.
So why don't you just step back and take a self-evaluation? All right? Because you're not it. Also, you haven't won shit since then, so James is like what, 4th in the ITC?
Okay, so this is the thing I find hilarious. I haven't won shit since then. Yeah, you know what? Literally, after August of last year, if you want to know my life story, before the LVO, I went and I opened a restaurant for 4 months, and I didn't play in any tournaments. You can go look at my tournament record. I think between August, I maybe played one event, and then I didn't play again until LVO. And then guess what happened right after LVO? COVID, bro. So the fact that I literally have 0 events logged in the entire ITC. Do you think that's by choice? And then you're going to go turn around and hold up the fact that James is 4th in the ITC in a season where half the players can't even compete is some sort of like badge of honor. Cool, man. Good for you. But don't try to pretend that that's some sort of like achievement.
Get out of here.
Won him a couple GTs along the way too. So
great for James.
yeah,
Congratulations,
kinda,
man.
I don't know. It all just stinks of like weird to me. I don't know if I get that some of us are content creators. We want to put stuff out.
So Brian again now, he's like, I don't understand why he started this. Why did Jim say these things? Now he's going to accuse me of trying to create traffic for my site by starting this whole thing. When, as I showed you guys,
But like the time
I didn't start this. James's teammates and James started this on Monday when they accused me of cheating and lying, and I had to address it.
Weird. The choosing to do it now is weird. And
So he's
I'm
like,
not
he doesn't
sure if
understand the
wants some
choosing of
kind
it.
Relevancy out of it, you know, if that's why it got brought up. But you know, really, since that list went away, and he hasn't really won or done anything. So you know, just maybe just stirring up controversy on the podcast is where it's at for him. So
he's again accusing me.
It is kind of shitty. That's at the expense of
He's like a 40K Valley girl. He just wants fucking attention.
I don't want attention.
That's all
well.
that I want. That's why I wear shorts.
At least you're open about it. You know, and I also think there's something to be said for having a little bit of class. Like it's, you know, 3 years after the fact.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about that. So Brian, if you're listening to this, man, I got nothing against you, but you literally, the entire podcast, you had everything wrong there, bro. First, you accused me of not understanding why I brought it up, which I didn't. James and his teammates started it. They brought it up. Second, now you're saying that I have low class because 3 years later, I didn't let it go. Do you know who didn't let it go? The people that brought it up again, right? And then you're accusing me of trying to create attention. No, dude, I just was trying to defend myself because I had multiple people pile on and accuse me of trying to screw over James and be some sort of nefarious 40K mastermind that is able to convince all these top level players to take the wrong secondaries, even though they've played hundreds of games, and somehow cheat. Like, that is so incoherent. That's not even a thing.
You know, if it was that big of a problem, you've had plenty of opportunity to hash it out and talk it out, and to put out this whole thing. You know, and like today he did. He basically, you know, there's a place on the internet where some people go that is kind of a shit talking place, and you know, basically Jim was in there lying about the conversation between him and James.
How was I lying? I literally showed screenshots on Monday of our conversation. So Brian, now having not seen my video, not understanding why that I even brought it up, is accusing me of lying, is accusing me of getting attention, is accusing me of trying to like start some sort of shit when I literally had already moved on many, many years ago, didn't ever think about it, and I have 3 of James's teammates starting that shit. So how is it that I'm the one that is accusing James of lying? The only liar is James and whoever else for not characterizing the events properly.
And someone tagged in James, and James is like, that's not at all how it went down or how it was said.
And to be fair, and here's the thing, to be fair, when I made the first message, I didn't even bring up James, did I? Right? You guys saw. I didn't even bring up James. I literally just said, hey, Mike, this was because of the shit show at Nova. James's teammates are the ones that started turning it into about that situation. They brought up the fact that, and then they started accusing me. So, Brian, again, you're mischaracterizing the facts, bro. Like, I did not start shit with James again. I was like, I'm way past it, bro. But, like, when you say that I started a topic that to accusing James of lying, that is categorically false because I never even mentioned James at all. In fact, David Penfold, the guy that replied, he's the one that starting the pot.
You know, so he was putting out this narrative out there that just was not an accurate narrative. And, you know, and then when the other person that was involved came in, you know, that's, you know, I don't know if that's what sparked the, you know, the podcast or what, but it just screams low rent to me. It's just kind of fucking stupid.
Yeah, well, you know what's low rent?
All riled up.
You know what's low rent, Brian? Doing a whole podcast, naming it after me, and not getting any of your facts correct. That's low rent. That's something that, like, as I said, man, I got nothing wrong with you. Like, all the peace and love, but like that was the way that you treated me and the way that you mischaracterized every single step of the way and took Ben's side of this story without checking the facts. You didn't even check the video to see what I said or why I started it. You would have seen the screenshots with James. You would have seen the whole category of items leading up. You would have seen why I even brought it up in the first place, which was the fact that all the teammates piled onto me. Like, and then you turn around and try to pretend that James is the victim and his teammates are the victim and I'm the boogeyman trying to start shit. That's literally the opposite of what happened. Like, that's not even what reality is like. And then you go through, put my name in your podcast and do a whole section with Ben, who also wasn't part of that conversation, and basically drag my name through the mud and slander me. That's low rent. That's low class, if you want to know what it is. And it pisses me off. So anyways, I just wanted to get that off my chest, guys. Sorry that you had to go through that, but it's just, I thought that I was like super pissed off about it. And like, look, moving forward, I don't want to talk about this anymore. I've said my piece. I know the facts are on my side, and I just don't want any more of this to continue, because guess what? I made my peace with it 2 years ago, right? And if James wants to come out and have a big conversation and we can have a big debate, hey, all the power to him. Congratulations on 4th on the ITC. Let's see how the season ends, right? I haven't even played in a tournament in a year and a half, so I'm not sure how, like, if you feel good about dragging me through the mud and saying that I'm a shitty player because I haven't played a tournament in a year and a half, hey man, all the power to you. You're a big man for being able to do that, guys, on your podcast. I'm just here to defend myself and not let people basically say that I'm a big fucking liar, which I'm not. And I showed you guys all the receipts, and I have all the text messages, all the screenshots, every piece of factual evidence is on my side, including Mike saying, hey, Jim was right. And you guys even admitting that James is wrong, but somehow I'm still the bad guy. Like what world do you live in that I'm somehow the villain here? Makes no sense. All right, 40 minutes. That's our painting. All right. Anyways, happy Friday, guys. Hope you're doing well. Let's get some painting done. And I actually have nothing wrong with James either. Like, we had one conflict over that one specific game, and as far as I was concerned, he wasn't happy with the result, and I didn't ever think about it again. I was like, yeah, that sucks for him that he screwed it up and he had to deal with it, and those are the consequences, and he can blame me for that, but I don't take ownership of the fact that he made that mistake. But past that, I haven't thought about it until these guys started to accuse me of like cheating again, or of lying, and literally, like, you guys saw all the text messages, all the messages. When did I start anything with James? I didn't bring up anything at all regarding him. His two teammates and him piled onto me. Then one of his other teammates goes on a podcast and starts slandering me, and then Brian,